The agenda, we're going to change around a little bit to move up the dispatch contract with state police, followed by the dispatch interlocal agreement with Nelson County. Mr. Larry Green has the floor.
All right, thank you. I guess to the first point, I've got some notes over here for people to look at. We have a proposal from the Kentucky State Police to provide dispatch services in the city of Bardstown for our police and fire. And and we also have a proposal from the county judge for dispatch services by the Central Dispatch of Nelson County. We have a budget from the Central Dispatch, but it's different from the judges. So we have a proposal from the judge, but I don't know that he's authorized by the Central Dispatch Board to make a proposal, especially one that's different than the one that the Dispatch Board made itself for this coming year in terms of budget. I just point that out because it's kind of interesting. So the proposal by the Kentucky State Police is that they will provide dispatch services for fire and police for $157,200. And the other option through the Nelson County Dispatch, this is from the judge using the dispatch budget, would be that there would be a $24 a year, $2 a month fee put on or tax put on the garbage. And we have 5,555 garbage customers in the city of Bardstown. The judge has a different number, but I'm not sure it's pretty close. So that would generate $24 a year, $133,320 is what that would generate for the county. If they put a $2 a month tax on the garbage bills. And the judge's proposal also has 40% of the balance to be paid for from the city of Bardstown. Now, and I'm going to flip over here and we'll come back. And the balance, I'm going to go back to the Central Dispatch Board's budget for fiscal year 2016-2017. $991,234 is the revenue needed to fund the dispatch. The current landline revenue is $162,000, give or take a year, $162,800. That is by fiscal court order, I think, is where the authority for that comes from. Then we also have cell phone revenue that is collected by the state through CMRS, I think is the name of that outfit, $172,384. And so the shortfall for dispatch is $656,050 for the whole county. And let me go back here now. So there's the shortfall, $656,000. If we go with the Kentucky State Police, our total cost, annual recurring cost, I should say recurring cost because we also have some upfront costs that we'll talk about. Our recurring cost would be $157,000, and that would be through the Kentucky State Police. If we go through the county and the Nelson County Dispatch, we would have that $133,000 plus $154,000, which would be 40% of the balance, and that balance is from this other page. The number isn't exact, because the judge and I use slightly different figures, and he subtracted 24,000, whereas the dispatch board didn't subtract 24,000, they just put it out to the side. But his proposal was that we would pay 154,000. So the Bardstown citizens will pay, under the county's proposal, and I have to preface that too, because the fiscal court hasn't passed it. The judge said that the fiscal court was in agreement, in general agreement, not specific agreement. The fiscal court was in general agreement to put $2 a month on the garbage bills. So that's an assumption that that will pass through the fiscal court, which I think they have a special meeting maybe even to do that. Of course, they have to also get permission from the garbage collectors to put that on. So, through the fiscal court's unofficial proposal, since they haven't voted on it, $133,000, $24 a year times per hour, 55 customers, would generate $133,000 from the people of Bardstown. In addition to that, they will bill us $154,000, which is equal to 40% of the balance of the 40% of what's needed to make up the shortfall. And I know we've said this before, but everybody that's a citizen of the city of Bardstown is also a citizen of Nelson County. So we would pay, the people in Bardstown would pay 40% of that shortfall that's left over after putting the new tax on. And then we'd also pay a third of the county's portion of their 60%, because city people contribute a third of the county's general fund budget through taxes. But be that as it may, going this route will cost us $287,000. Going through the Kentucky State Police will cost $157,000. Now, we can either, the city could put this $2 a month on the garbage itself and use that money to pay a good portion of this KSP bill. And if that was the case, then all that would be required from the general fund is $23,000. It all comes from the city residents, so in one sense it doesn't make much difference, but it does make a difference in terms of our budget, because we're right in the middle of budget time and we have to decide how much money to put into the budget for dispatch. Either $23,000 or $157,000 or $287,000 if we want to stay with central dispatch. So when we later talk about the police budget and the fire budget, these are the figures that that we'll need to consider. $23,000 plus this money from, I guess we'll need to have 157, but it'll come from two different sources. $23,000 from the general fund and $133,000 from a fee put on garbage. So the difference between those two, option one and option two, the total savings would be $130,000 a year. And that's between going through Kentucky State Police and Nelson County Central Dispatch. I thought it would be interesting to see what the savings would be, not just for the city, but for the whole county. Because after all, we are all county taxpayers and we all want to have the most efficient and effective use of our taxpayers' money. So the city cost by the Kentucky State Police would be $157,000. And if you take that, and by the way, if you just do it in terms of calls, because that's how they look at how they make up the charges, how much they would charge for dispatch, they look at your call volume, among other things. So the city, through our police and fire, have 12,197, and 11,000 of that plus is police. Police is almost all of dispatch calls for the city. And then the county we have 12,000 and the county has 17,000. The difference there, they have about the same number of law enforcement calls, but then they also have 5,000 or 6,000 EMS calls. So we have like 22,000 law enforcement calls, 5,000 or 6,000 EMS calls, and 500 or 600 fire calls. That's going up because we're doing a lot more rescue and emergencies, emergency medical. But if you prorated this, if you just did strictly through calculating how much the county would cost, how much they would pay KSB for the same per call, it would cost them $227,000 for a total for all of Nelson County of $384,000 a year. And our shortfall, what we're having to make up, is $656. These other two, the landline and the cell phone revenue, they go to wherever the PSAP is anyway, so they're kind of out of the equation. $656,000 staying with Nelson County Dispatch versus $384,000 going with the Kentucky State Police if we went city and county. So as a county resident, I might very well say, let's all go to the Kentucky State Police and save ourselves $271,000 a year. So, anyway, those are the numbers. But then that's only part of the story, because dispatch, it has to do, it's an integral part of our emergency services, and you can't just look at the numbers. You're dealing with officer safety, you're dealing with firefighter safety, you're dealing with EMS safety. And the quality of that dispatch is just as important as the cost. And so one of the things we wanted to do was talk to people to other communities that already use the state police dispatch. And Post 4 in Elizabethtown currently doesn't, they're one of the, I think, 2 posts in the state that don't dispatch for any other local agencies. Although the dispatchers that work there, many of them come from, they move around to different posts, and many of them have worked with posts that have fire and EMS. So I called for instance, Henry, Trimble, and Owen County are all do their dispatch through the state police, as well as Hart County and Spencer County. And all of those, I talked to the judge executive in Henry County, John Brent, and he said that he was happy with the Kentucky State Police dispatching. And one of the issues was, what happens if there is a problem with the dispatching? And he said that if they do have a problem, that it's always ironed out, because there's always a captain on duty. So not only do you have the people in the dispatch, but you also have not just a supervisor, but you have a Kentucky State Police captain who's on the post at all times if there is a problem. And he said when there are, they iron them out pretty quickly. I talked to Sheriff Mark Bass in Owen County, and he made the comment that the Kentucky State Police dispatchers are the best trained dispatchers in the state. That Kentucky State Police is a preeminent law enforcement agency, The dispatchers at KSB have their own training center. It's required that you have 4 weeks of training for dispatch. Kentucky State Police has 6. I talked to Major Shannon Keller. Where is he? He might have been in Hart County. Anyway, I'll find out where he's from. And he made the point that, this is in northern Kentucky. They're using doing their own, let's see what, not Boone County. I've lost track of it. Anyway, the sheriff said that they were doing their own dispatching. It cost them $374,000 a year. Now they're going with KSB, and it costs them $184,000. So significant savings there, and he said he's happy with that. And in particular, we talked about the CAD system, the computer-aided dispatch system that they use at the Kentucky State Police. The name of that system is Interact, and it's made by a company called Caliber. And that was the source of a whole page full of questions from Debbie Carter at our last meeting. I think it was at the council meeting. And a whole series of questions about how that CAD system and how their dispatch software would work, and would it work like the one we have. And that software, Interact, there are 233 agencies in the state of Kentucky that use Interact. It is the main software for dispatch in the state of Kentucky, and the most prevalent. And it was actually the first choice when, right now in Nelson County we use Spillman. And that's an old system, and it's not being supported properly, and so we've been trying to get away from it for a while. And when the dispatch center first started looking at new software, their #1 choice was Interact. Well, it makes sense. It's the most prevalent. The state police use it, and they're kind of on the forefront of policing in the state. They're the state police, and there's more of it around, and that means that the database that you have access to through Interact is huge. You have all these different agencies putting information into it, and you can get that out with the right permissions. And the state police have information in there that we would have access to. So, and last year we actually, I shouldn't say, well, maybe it was we, because the city is part of it, the Central Dispatch contracted to buy the Interact software for our system. But it fell through, and here's why. I'm reading from a letter from Debbie Carter to the CMRS board, Kentucky Office of 911 Coordinator, CMRS board. It says, during the talks with Interact, I repeatedly reminded them about our requirement for EMS scheduled runs. I was assured over and over that this was not a problem, but this version of the CAD does not have a feature for scheduled runs. And now they didn't buy Interact, and it said the board agreed to stop the project, that is installing Interact, due to scheduled runs are a requirement for EMS to function properly. But scheduled runs is not emergency dispatch. Scheduled runs for EMS is the operations of the EMS service. The county runs the EMS service, and together we have a joint dispatch board, which is supposed to be emergency dispatch. So what you have is the dispatch board discarding the number one software, the one that they chose as the one that they wanted, that is the one that's used by all these other agencies, all these other law enforcement agencies. And remember that law enforcement is over 90% of all the dispatch calls. Dispatch is predominantly law enforcement when you look at the numbers. And so why would the board not use their number one choice for CAD software for dispatch? And it's because it wouldn't do the operational part of the ambulance service, which is a county's business, which we all pay for with our county taxes. So when there was an implication from Debbie's list of questions that Interact was somehow inferior, well, that's just not so. Interact is the superior law enforcement software, and it's used all over the state of Kentucky. So what we had to do was, they decided in order to help the county run their EMS service, they decided to not use the number one CAD system, go to another one that would do pre-planning for the EMS runs. And one thing I don't have a background in law enforcement, so I didn't really have a real good feel for exactly how the Link NCIC and the records management service, the RMS part of the software, and the KY Ops, which is where all of the cases end up in a big database from the state. So I don't have a hands-on experience with that. So I couldn't really say how it works or how it doesn't, other than to know that the Kentucky State Police use this system, and they certainly have made the choice over the years of that system. So I asked if Bill Buckman and the mayor and Megan Wells from the police department would go over and talk to the state police, which they did today, and actually see these mobile data terminals, the terminals that they have in the police cars, see them working with the state police, and they did that. So rather than tell you that it works really well from experience, I can't, but I could maybe turn it over to Bill Buckman for a report on that.
I had the list of all of Debbie's questions that she brought up at the last council meeting, and pretty much got them all answered. The meeting with the state police is very informative. With the Interact system, it ties all in with them. It'll give us a lot of features that is not available through the dispatch here because of the equipment. As far as the reports and the reporting and the accident reports, all that will go to KSB, just the same as dispatch, and be entered into their system there. We'll have full access to them, and also features, say if a trooper stops this vehicle somewhere else, and it automatically pops up when the officer in Bardstown runs it, showing that vehicle's been run twice. Another feature he told us about that's not available here is that officer talking to dispatch, it shuts down the system. And if there's another officer sees something more imminent, the one officer talking on the radio, the other officer that sees something that's more imminent can key up, and the dispatcher can hear the second officer with the more emergency type call that we couldn't do with the second, with here. They have two lines. That's called a two-tier system. It's a 2-year contract, no increases. We're going to put on 2 extra dispatchers to handle our calls. We'll have separate dispatch desks and so forth. The 911s, it's all backup. They'll be in real time. And the radio backup procedures for KSP, they'll all be recorded and archived. The phone line at the PD, that was one of the questions, how that be handled. It can be done either way. We have the T1 connections, we can run a straight line to KSP, where if they pick up a phone, we're going to put a second phone in, it goes straight to KSP. Or we can leave the after-hours phone in place, and it has an in-house line. It'll go dispatch, they can transfer it right over. You're talking about seconds, I mean. The 911 calls, when they go in, if they have to be transferred out back to the county, the dispatcher will stay online. It's called, what do they call that? Monitor transfer. It'd be a monitor transfer that they'll never hang up or lose the person until the call is transferred out back to the county. Larry pretty much went over the costs and so forth. Megan is our keeper of the records. She does the Lincoln NCIC and the validations. Since we already have a terminal at the Bardstown, that'll continue as such, that we'll still be able to do the validations and so forth. They'll be teletype, and she'll still do the validation stuff just like if they were in the back of the building. But they'll be putting all the runs, calls, cases, so forth into their Interact. We'll have the full access to KOPS. Let's see. Third-party emails and text runs, so forth, through fax and emails that'll be taken care of. The mapping, who'll do the updating on the mapping, that'll be David, and he sends the information to the dispatch now. Said he'll just send it to KSP, same thing. County EMT responsibility for the weather sirens. That's not on the dispatch. That's mandated by the EMA's responsibility. When they set the sirens off, that's countywide. Any questions? If I can, pretty much it.
Let me make a comment.
If I can answer them.
Okay. I think we should put an amount in the budget, because this issue do not have to be taken care of at the present time. I think we put a high number in the budget, and Councilman Fred Hagan indicated that. We can always amend the budget. I'm more confused now, listening to Buckman and Larry. We trying to compare apples and apples in here and oranges, and who got less oranges over here. And I indicated before, I do not want to separate.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me throw one thing out that I didn't say.
All right.
They may clarify it.
Okay.
The Zyrtec system that the county's going to
Right.
is being implemented at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go online the 28th,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have the record, we're not being included in it for the record keeping part.
So like I
In
indicated,
those interlocal agreement,
Mm-hmm.
we're out in code.
I'm more confused. I need something in front of me, Larry, and you have really confused me, and you done thrown in 20 more cents, and I indicated before, I do not want to separate. We're trying to compare apples and apples, and who got less apple, who got more apple. The county rent the city, that building out there, police department, for $1 a year. So we shouldn't try to compare apples and apples, because the county county helped save the city of Bardstown many dollars. Look at that police department building out there. And I indicated before, I do not want to separate. We always talk about trying to keep your business in Bardstown. Now we want to take the business out of Bardstown. And I think we should put a number in the budget. And we have time between now and September to discuss this, because this is a major problem and a major issue. And I don't think we should even make no recommendation at this present time. Because you really confused me, Larry, with all those numbers, not having anything in front of me to really analyze and evaluate it. So that's my comment, and I don't think we should separate. That's my opinion.
I'd like to ask Larry a question. When you started your presentation, you said that the dispatch and Dean's numbers or the county's numbers didn't match with dispatch.
Right.
Maybe I didn't get around there fast enough to see it, but where's that at? What is that difference?
The budget that was given to the city council and the fiscal court for this year was $991,000. The proposal given to the city by the judge started with them having $965,000. So he would somehow subtracted some money. So the fiscal court's number is lower than what the dispatch board presented. So I don't know how the dispatch board can operate if they say they need 991 and the fiscal court says, well, you're only going to get 965, then what are they going to cut out? How are they going to? I assume there's something that could be cut, but then as you do that, then the actual service is even less than it is now, because right now it's they've spent more than 965 for this year. So I don't know where the judge would cut their budget, because he didn't provide another budget. He just provided a lesser number when saying how much we would pay, and that's why the numbers don't add up. Is because he used a lesser amount for dispatch in order. I don't know why he did it, but it had the effect of making it look better for the city in terms of what we would have to pay. But it doesn't answer the question of is he going to rewrite their budget? And the judge can pretty much do what he wants, because New Haven and Bloomfield have people on the board, 2 people each on the board, and yet they don't pay anything for dispatch. That's absorbed by the county general fund, or has been since 2006. And yet there's only two members of an 8-member board that are from the city, and so when the judge decides when the judge decides what the numbers are, that's what the numbers are, because he has the votes to do it. So I don't quarrel with his numbers, but they're not the numbers that were presented to the city council by the dispatch board in their budget proposal. So I don't know why. I mean, I can't answer it any other way than because I don't know his motivation for giving a different number. I would like at this time also, because it's part of what we would have to pay for the Kentucky State Police, is those are the annual numbers, and then we also have a one-time cost to set it up, which I'll run through those real quickly. We would have to buy a repeater and police radio equipment from RCS. That would be $18,000. We'd have to buy radio equipment to put into that we would own, but would be put into the Kentucky State Police dispatch post, or post dispatch center. That's $3,680. We would have to have a T1 line equipment installed at the state police post with a piece of equipment on either end, at the state police post and then at the fire department where our antenna would be, and that would be about $20,000. GIS upgrade, which they're already in the process of doing. They're doing it all over the state, really. That is where they get a GIS coordinate for every front door in the city. I think the city itself has GIS coordinates for things like our water meters, and so we have every address, but it's not exactly where they would do it for law enforcement. So anyway, that's $14,000, and then we would have to get. Right now we have 12 of the computers in the police cars. What are those? Mobile data terminals. And so we'd have to get 12 CAD and RMS software licenses from Interact that costs $13,000. So anyway, $70,000 worth of upfront costs, one-time costs, and then $157,000 a year. So $130,000 savings every year. I asked Tracy to calculate what that would save over 10 years, and what did you say?
A little over $1 million.
Yeah, $1,300,000. So that is, well, I won't get into the budget implications, but that's a lot of money. One other thing I'd like to say about going with the Kentucky State Police, and the fire chief can address this as well, and maybe in more knowledgeably in more detail. But their system should give us a better ISO score. And the ISO is the insurance ratings for fire protection, and that has a direct bearing on the amount that people pay for homeowners insurance with most insurance companies. And it could make the difference between a Class 5 and a Class 4 insurance rating. We missed it by, I think the chief said, by a point the last time. And that would, because the state police will have 3 or 4 or 5 even dispatchers, but at least 3 all 24 hours a day. And because of the amount because our central dispatch was not able to get what they asked for in their budget last year, and it's been cut again this year, then we don't have those 3 on 24 hours a day. That would make a significant difference in the ISO rating. And then there are other things like the backup generator and how often it's tested. There are a bunch of small items that, or not small, but there are a lot of items that go into the ISO rating, the dispatch portion of the ISO rating. It's only one. It's only 10 points out of 100, but every point counts when you're trying to go get a better rating. So there is that part, that advantage as well. Going to Kentucky State Police is getting lower insurance costs for our citizens.
I indicated before, Larry, I think we should stay with the county, and I do not think we should go with the Kentucky State Police. You're talking about the ISO. I don't want to get into that again, because we done been through that ISO before, and it was misleading, and I think we should leave it ISO out, because it's kind of misleading. And I think we should stay with the county, negotiate with the county, and see if we can work it out. And I'm not going to change my mind. No one's not going to change my mind that we should go with Kentucky State Police, and I think we should stay with the county. That's my opinion.
Well, the city council does have a proposal that we gave to the county. I think it was February.
And I don't have nothing in writing there. I mean, nothing. The only thing that I'm reviewing is what you got up there. Give us something so we can review it. Your involvement is...
We have a proposal that the city gave to the county.
I can't just read every program, everything in my head, pages up there, what you say. Give me something in writing. Let us review it from there. Like I said, I think we'll put a number in the budget, and we got between now and September. We can always amend the budget, put a high figure in the budget, and we can amend it. And we have time to negotiate between now and September. And I don't think we should rush at it. For safety and welfare of this community, we need to get it right. I'm serious. And I'm against trying to compare apples and apples. My focus on safety and welfare of this community, of city and county. That's my opinion.
We agree on that.
All right.
All right, a couple other things I want to cover on that was the mapping. He's already told you it's already done. It's almost finished up. And the rip runs, those, that was addressed. It goes straight just like it does now, except that you come in on fax. You just take the rip run, and also they have an app where it goes straight to your cell phone or whatever, and it tells you, gives you a map and yada yada, where you need to go. My biggest concern about the whole thing, Dave, is the Zyrtec, changeover that's coming up on the 28th, and the county's already implemented that, we weren't included in our filing system, and our system is not, either we get on board or we don't. And we're gonna be out in the cold and back to pencil, paper, and file cabinets, I guess. I don't know how this is gonna work. But anyway, we have an interlocal agreement till September, and I guess it's gonna be not maintained.